So of the folks that are with us, if you have not yet had a chance to dive into this bad boy, I would suggest that you start doing so. I have mine's got tabs on it, and I've written notes in and underlined passages, and I'm really stoked about the opportunity, not just because of the market shifting, but just the opportunity to discuss this book with other agents, get their impact moments, their ahas from it, and get some interpretations too. I mean, it's always good to look at things from different perspectives. So I'm really excited to do that with everybody, and hopefully we have some takeaways from this that will impact your business in a positive way, as that is the idea. So we'll just we'll dive right into part one. Shift happens. Shift factors. The takeaway from this would be our factors of why a market shifts. Globally, you're looking at currency and political climate. On a national scale, market shifts tend to be impacted by what we're seeing right now: interest rates and inflation. On a city level, population, jobs, household income, and getting down a little bit deeper, and we're going to touch on this today, at least I'd like to anyway, is the neighborhood effects tend to be dictated by dynamics and housing prices. And I think we can all agree that one thing is for certain: if you drill all the way down from the global look at it, currency and political climate, can we as agents control either one of those?
No.
No.
No,
Interest rates or inflation, do we really have a say over that?
no,
No. Population, jobs, household income, again, no. Dynamics, no. But what's the one thing, and I'm going to say that a lot in the book clubs and discussions because I love that book too. The one thing we can have an impact on as agents is the housing prices. Right? As listing agents, we have the opportunity to become as informed as possible so that we can apply our professional perspective with a seller on the most effective way for them to sell their house efficiently. And again, we all like to sell that we can get you top dollar. We can get you top dollar. But as we're seeing here in this shift in the market, top dollar is today not what it was even a month ago, right, Chris? Chris, you still with us?
yes.
So top dollar today does not mean what it did a month ago. Would you agree with that, Chris?
I totally would. And it's exactly why Mike and I were saying to each other, it's like apples and grapes. If you try to come up with strategies now, thinking back to 2019 or 2020 or 2021, or even 6 months ago.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's hard to have that listing, that conversation with a seller about, getting them out of the clouds of what it was a year ago. And
Yeah.
that's, I think, the challenge we're facing. And I think that's what these discussions hopefully will help us become better equipped to handle. And, we want to make sure that everybody has a chance to chime in. So Linda, chime in. I know you've had a couple of listing appointments this year. How are those conversations gone for you?
Well, basically, everybody's still stuck in, last year.
Right.
So, everybody thinks that their house is, going to sell for a lot of money. And you have to really just educate them and bring them down to a level that's reasonable. And I'm finding success in it. But right now I'm in a deal where we made an offer on a house that we just don't think is worth what the number that they have on it. However, my buyer just keeps upping his offer, because he doesn't want to lose this house. And, they're in negotiations with another buyer.
Right.
So he might be too late, my buyer, but, he just, and we try to keep it at a good level, and not let these prices skyrocket, but it's where this one's going. This one's headed that way.
Right. Yeah. And what's going to be the long-term effects of that? And we're going to see it. I mean, we may not see it in Altoona, or the smaller markets may not be as adversely affected by it, but the larger markets, we're going to see if that continues, if that trend continues, and we can't, as agents, control it or do the best that we can to influence it as listing agents, man, we're in for a ride, right?
I'll be super vulnerable and share a story with you about a listing that I tried to sell for a year and wasn't able to sell it because of this cavernous gap between expectation and reality. It was over in Lincoln Larimer. I got it under agreement at 240 rather. And I told this lady when we listed it, she'd be lucky to get 250 for this house. And after much debate, she forced my hand, and I shouldn't have let her, and listed it at like 269, 270, somewhere in there to start. And she was way too high. And so we had many conversations about how we needed to bring the price down. And she let me just do a couple small bumps that were like pulling out wisdom teeth to get out of her. And at the end of the year, close to the end of the year, I sat down with her very seriously and I told her, Lisa, look, there's just no way this house is going to sell north of 240. I had it under agreement at 240. The woman tried to negotiate $5,000 down in inspection, and the seller just would not give up the $5,000. So the buyer walked away. Another offer never came. At the end of the year, after having a few really hard conversations that she didn't appreciate, and here's what happened to me. Even though she was the seller, her son was advising her. And after 6 months of talking to her, I came to realize that her son, her 20-something-year-old son, was advising her. And if I would have ever been able to get him in the room, I might have been able to course correct it.
Right.
Sometimes you think you're with the decider and you're not.
Right.
Even though they're not even on the deed.
Yeah.
It's a complete aside. Anyway, it expired. Coldwell came in, listed it for 240, and they sold it for, 215.
Yeah.
But you're not always going to get everybody to listen to your advice, even when you're right.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I mean, it's a tough sell because of how aggressive the market was. And for those of you who jumped on, we're just recapping here. Shift Happens Part 1 talked about the shift factors globally, nationally, on a city level and on a neighborhood scope. The things we can't control, from currency to political crime, interest rates, inflation, population, jobs, household income dynamics. But housing prices, we have the ability to have some influence on how these houses are priced if we become better informed. And one of the things, and thank you, Chris, for sharing that, because I think that's going to be a typical conversation we have to be prepared to have as we tread deeper into the interest rate, deep end of the pool. If anybody saw, as of this morning, 5.02 was reported by two lenders that I researched this morning, with no end in sight, was what I read. Now, we can allow that fear to dictate us, or we can put a damper on it now and start making decisions for ourselves as agents on how we respond. And we get more informed. We become more of the professional for our sellers, and we try to combat those those outside influences or competing listings. I know Jennifer is on with us, and Jennifer, if you're free to speak, I'd like you to touch on. I know there's been a few instances where you have been in a competing situation for competing for a listing. Has that come up yet? Have you had to compete with a better sale price or a better list price And have you had to try to justify why you would stick to your guns or whatnot? How does that look for you?
I think that's, excuse me, I'm in my car, but I think that's a double-edged sword because I do feel like at this stage of my business, somebody that's unrealistic from the get-go, I've decided it's not worth taking the listing. It will depend just how cuckoo they are. If they're literally off in left field and unrealistic about their price, that's a lot of time, investment, and energy that I could just spend somewhere else, number one. Number two, yes, I'm currently had a really nice listing appointment with the seller in Shaler, and great talk, 2-hour tour, really great meeting, gave her all kinds of information, resources, value. And then at the end, she says, well, you know, there's an agent that's more experienced over here. I see her signs more often. I am interviewing her as well. And so I think what we could do, what I could have done better is known up front, how many agents, and we learned this in, when with sellers, is how many agents are you interviewing? Because what I do, like, I wish I had known that in advance. I don't think it would have changed my approach. I'm just real folksy and I just like to build rapport. Mm-hmm. But in the end, I think what I would have ended our tour with was, okay, Miss Seller, what I'd like to do is just touch base with you every few days, or when would be a good time, just to make sure, because I do tend to err on the side of not being overtly pushy, so, or just like constantly contacting them. And so I did do that when I left, sent a card, whatever, and it's still kind of up in the air. But maybe this isn't what you want to hear with new agents or whatever, but I just do feel like some days other people just need to win, and I just can go in and do my very best. I mean, it's just like any kind of sports game. Somebody has to win. And so I just keep polishing, my approach and my preparation, just so, when it's my turn, I'm ready. So I hope that answers.
Yeah. No, it does, because it actually leads right into where we want to go with equilibrium. Because, you mentioned when I want to say this with new agents, listen, we're facing thrive or survive. I mean, we're looking at, a market that is potentially going to run a little bit, we're going to hit a certain point where housing prices are going to go up. Interest rates are going to parallel that. They're going to go up. And eventually buyers are going to get scared into not acting. And the silver lining is the inventory is going to go up. But what's the downside of that silver lining? Chris Keller.
Doug, I'm already experiencing what you just described. And this is the last share I'm going to be able to give with you guys today, because I got to go show a house at one in Westview. But if I've got 14 buyers I'm shopping for right now. Mm-hmm. Some of them are in the 200s, some of them are in the 3s, some are in the 4s, some of them are in the 5s, some are in the 6s. Mm-hmm. And so I'm going to give you a little survey. In the 2s, the first-time home buyer still wants a house. Mm-hmm. And even though they're FHA and they can't compete, they haven't all given up. Mm-hmm. In the 3s and the 4s, they don't want to overpay. Mm-hmm. They're already worried about interest coming up. They're already worried about prices up. They're already worried about overpaying, and they're no longer interested in a bidding war. Mm-hmm. So everybody who I'm shopping for in the 3s and the 4s are taking a break. Mm-hmm. They're all waiting for that next pivot to happen. They're waiting for the inventory to increase, mm-hmm. right? My people that are in the 5s and the 6s, well, they can shop because they have cash. They got plenty of money. They got no issues with interest rates, and they've got things to buy. Mm-hmm. Now, on the high end of the 6s coming out of California, frankly, they're a little unimpressed with our offering. Mm-hmm. We don't exactly have what they're looking for yet. We have it in the Strip, but we don't have it in Oakland. Mm-hmm. We have it downtown, but we don't have it in Shadyside, Yeah. And so I'm running into some different kinds of things there. But I don't think I directly answered the question you asked me, but I want to share this with you before I leave you today, which is this. That listing that I couldn't sell in Lincoln Larimer, boy, I regretted wasting a year on that woman. Mm-hmm. I really did. Mm-hmm. And I got to say this for the new agents. because I hate to say I'm a new agent, but I feel like I'm still a new agent going on 6 years.
You know what, though? I
As a
mean,
result,
yeah.
this is what you need to hear. As a result of that listing, I got a listing 2 doors away
Mhm.
from a guy who saw my sign at her listing, and he was a banker and he knew the market a lot better than her.
Sure.
And he wanted to price high too, just like she did. But he listened to me and he made adjustments when he needed to make adjustments. And we sold his house at 196 and we set a new comp in that neighborhood that nobody's been able to set yet.
Yeah.
And when I went to that Key Bank thing, here, all that happened on the phone. Never met this guy. Never. What I do as much as I can over the phone, right? Saving on gas. Here I go to that Key Bank thing, Doug, and he's in the audience.
Yeah.
And now I'm on the panel and he comes up and introduces himself. And at the end of it, he says, hey, a shout out to Chris who just sold my house. And that was a hell of a lot of good branding.
That's a good win. That's a huge win.
That was a good win that came out of a ick.
Yeah. But that's where we, you know, at new agents, if you're listening to this, that's where we get all of our learning from, right? I mean, we're going to learn so much by whatever wins we're not able to gather. If we can look at that situation, okay, what could I have done better, as Jennifer alluded to earlier? What things can I improve upon? That's part of getting yourself prepared to go into a listing appointment or even to consult with a buyer. Is how can, you know, all right, so this situation happened before with me. How can I better myself? You know, what ways can I become better informed? And talking about equilibrium and the law of equilibrium, you know, are you prepared each day? How are you going to survive and thrive in this market when it does pivot? Because it will pivot. And when it does, you know, the ones that have survived are going to thrive. The ones that are going to survive are going to be the ones that have the information. They're able to get the facts. They're not going to let fear drive the narrative for them. They're not going to let fear drive their buyer or their seller's narrative. Boy, if I don't get this thing listed right now and sell it, the interest rates are going to go up. I'm not going to be able to get top dollar. It's not true because we're already there, right? We're at 5% and it's climbing. And as Chris said, you know, you can get somebody that's going to sit and listen to you if you are well informed, if you know that you have the facts in front of you. So every day you're looking at the market, you're checking the hot sheets, you tap into the resources that are available to you out just in the internet in general with interest rates. Read every article you can get your thumbs on, click on every article you can click on that's talking about where things are. Don't let the fear of those articles dictate where you're going to go, but let the information of the facts come to you from those articles. And these discussions like this are only going to help. And we're going to continue to expand on these book club discussions each and every week as we move through the book. But a couple things to keep in mind is discomfort is the price of admission to a meaningful life. It was something that I saw this morning, and I think it just was like, wow, as we get closer and closer to rates climbing and housing prices going up, as agents, it's like almost an uncomfortable feeling. And in some of the discussions I've had with a few of you over the last few weeks, it's getting to that point. We're starting to feel that tightness in the grip. But that discomfort, as some of us have experienced in the past, that discomfort can lead to some beautiful destinations. And we have to keep that in mind as we prepare for the shift in the marketplace. Fear is about overcoming our fears of discomfort or fear of wasted energy, a fear of failure. Failure is guaranteed when you allow your fears to guide you to a lack of effort. If we're not doubling down or tripling down on our lead gen, is one thing that we need to make sure we're focusing on. But getting ourselves informed and prepared each and every day to have the discussions that we need to have that are going to lead to us expanding our business and growing, surviving and thriving, as the law of equilibrium points out. Any other takeaways, guys, from anyone? Let's go ahead and speak freely here for the last few minutes and take some questions and open up the floor to discussion.
Doug, can I add something here?
Yes.
Sorry, I know you said yes, but I need to turn off my so y'all don't listen to my GPS. I want to say this, like I know you were talking about click, click, click. I want agents to be strategic about what they're clicking on. I think there's a lot of clickbait and fear mongering in this business. And I loved when you said, not coming from a place of fear. I think truly that is the epicenter of my business, is trying not to come from a place of fear, but to come from a place of abundance versus scarcity. But the clicking, you need to be very strategic. Right now in this kind of market, we should be reading anything and everything from NAR economists. I would be subscribing to the digital version of Pittsburgh Business Times. I would be looking at set up Google alerts. If you have Gmail, set up Google alerts for anything having to do with Pittsburgh economy. Because anytime I go into a party or meet someone for coffee, if it's a friend or whatever, they'll be like, oh, how's the market? And right away, the bulk of your business usually is going to come from your sphere. And that's an incredible component of just really being strategic about what you're clicking on. So I think, honing in on, some of us don't even care about economics, but right now it's good to have those talking points.
Yep, absolutely. Excellent point. And thank you for dropping some of those examples of what we can log into and click on. I'll tell you, the Altoona and Johnstown folks, there might be a lot of reference to Pittsburgh here, but just remember, you might think, well, this isn't going to trickle down and affect us, or our market's not going to be as impacted. Most of the information that people are getting scared by, they're getting it from the same places we're going to find it, and that's online. So whether you Google for Pittsburgh or you Google for wherever, it's going to impact our consumers. The general public is reading the same information. So it's not just, what's the Altoona Mirror, or I don't know, the Johnstown Tribune, I think is what it is. I don't know the Johnstown paper, which is shameful. But the information is not coming from there. They're not finding it there. They're finding it online. So it's applicable to every market, every condition. Every market condition is applicable to no matter where we're at geographically. So make sure you're tapping into those things at every turn that you can get. And we'll continue to drop more examples, and we'll continue to cite information as we move forward, so that we are informed, not to get afraid, but to be informed. Anyone else? Any other feedback, insights, ahas?
I have one of my favorite quotes for you,
Yeah.
and it's from Miss Dolly Parton. She said, if you want the rainbow, you got to put up with the storm.
That's right.
And, that's what we do. We persevere. We work hard. We work hard for our families and our clients. And, we're going to push through, and we're going to make it, and we're going to see that rainbow. But it could be tough going for a little bit, but we'll make it.
You're right. That's 100%. And I love that quote too, by the way. One of my favorites. The storm will calm. Calm yourself. The storm will settle. So we need to make sure we stay calm. We need to stay focused. We need to stay energetic. It is easy to get sucked into the negative and into the fear. It's easy to buy into the fear. 2006 or 7, there was a 20-ish%, Joe has the statistic, a 20-ish% decline in NAR registration. Agents just were leaving the business. Boom, 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 boom. And that's understandable. The market was completely, we'd never seen anything like that. Are we going to go there again? I don't know. And nobody has a crystal ball to say that that's ever going to get that bad. We just went through something that we haven't gone through as a globe, as a society in over 100 years. And the last time it happened, the economy was nowhere near as structured the same as it is today. So we're not dealing with something where we can look at history and say, well, if these things happen, we're going to end up in this same place. It's not as simple as that, no matter what historical economists will tell you. It doesn't always come down to, well, these things are going to happen, and that means we're going to go here. It could, but I think we're more or less leaning towards, how energetic can we make ourselves and informed, and how good can we really be at this to make sure that we're doing whatever part we can to influence the one thing we can influence, and that's housing prices. How quickly can we get out in front of this, which is why Gary called an emergency meeting 2 weeks ago and wanted to get these shift discussions rolled out. And Joe and I talked with our coaches, and this was what we came up with as a strategy to help trying to get these discussions had so that we can get, as a team, we can get more informed and get out there and start having the right discussions to try to help influence our end of things. It seems like a monumental task, and it certainly is one that, you know, will be a challenge, but I think the best we have is going to give us the best result. And if we can be honest with ourselves and give that same effort every single day, and push and stay informed and be the best we can for our clients, and we're going to see the best results. Any other takeaways, guys?
No, thank you, Doug. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you guys for jumping on. Won't keep you too far here. It's 1 o'clock now, 1:01. Our thanks to Eva for getting this fired up. I know Alana's away at Cultural Summit. Thank you, Eva, for stepping in and getting this fired up for us at the home base there. And we'll jump on again tonight. I'll be on at 7:30 to host round 2. Same discussion, similar discussion. We'll go over it. But if you have a chance to jump on, don't miss that, because if we have a different a different blend of agents, we might have different insights and different ideas. So it's always good to get as much information as you can when you can get it. These are being recorded, and we'll database these and start making them available as well. So thank you again, guys. Have a great rest of your week if I don't talk with you.